This Cognac case study describes our work with the Police Constabulary to overcome resistance to behavioural change. Ellen, what was the background to the project?
Well, the Police Constabulary needed to reduce the amount of inaccurate data that was being inputted by their staff. Every day, thousands of pieces of information are inputted into the system that are used in a variety of ways to prevent and also to solve crime. They had a challenge because inaccurate data causes problems such as failed convictions on technicalities or connections not being made, and so reducing the crime solve rate. And in the worst cases, reduces the safety of both the public and also police officers. So data entry is absolutely critical to police operations. So we were brought in by the data management team to help overcome resistance to the behavioural changes that they were requiring to ensure more accurate data entry.
Okay, and how did you approach the project?
Well, we interviewed people across the constabulary, so intelligence officers, control room staff, police officers, sergeants, as well as the data management team. And we found that although everyone was aware of the importance of accurate data, when it affected them, they weren't always aware of kind of how their mistakes impacted other people, or really the scale or the number of people that it affected, and certainly not that it might affect police officers on other forces. We also found that although there are a lot of data inaccuracies that are avoidable, there's quite a lot that aren't avoidable as well, just because of the nature of police work. It's not always possible to get accurate data entry. So through the interview process, we realised that we really needed to show people those knock-on consequences of inaccurate data, as well as showing that our client, the data management team, understood that some mistakes were unavoidable, just to show people that we were listening to them and understood their point of view. We also found from the interviews that there have been a lot of messages around the importance of data accuracy, but focusing on the potential loss of life. And although people realised that it happened, they really had this "it'll never happen to me" attitude, and these messages were just no longer effective.
And so how did you take what you found out in the interviews and translate that information into what the big picture should be?
Well, we chose a light-hearted theme to draw people in before kind of presenting them with a harder-hitting message, and focus more on the prospect of criminals walking free on a technicality to combat the effect that the message about loss of life had ceased to have as much impact. We showed the number of people affected using lottery balls, and used the possible headlines in the local newspaper to kind of drive home the fact that mistakes could affect them or could affect their families, and that it could also affect public confidence in the police. We used a ticker tape of excuses we heard, such as "I didn't understand their accent, I thought they said 80 and not 18, just to highlight people's subconscious resistances. And really seen in print, it highlights that these excuses, don't hold up, no excuse is good enough. To ensure people were less resistant to the message and it didn't come across as communicating down to them, we showed how it was our challenge, talking about what data management were doing to make it easier to enter information accurately, as well as showing that it is understood that there are unavoidable mistakes. Having overcome the resistance to the message and shown people the consequences of inaccurate data, we can then ask them to take action and reduce the number of avoidable mistakes in certain ways.
So the big picture looks fantastic. What have the results been?
Well, the big picture is currently being launched in poster format across the constabulary. Once the results and the impact have been measured, we're looking to have it in every training session, and we'll create a multimedia format in order to do that.
Cognac has helped lots of companies overcome resistance to change, creating big pictures that can be understood in 10 minutes. To find out more, visit us at www.cognac.co.uk or call Ellen or Anna on 020 7084 6740.